because it's not a guarantee. Should I turn myself up a bit? Hello, hello, hello. There we are. So, now how do I find it on here? This is stupid. Hello everyone, if anyone's in there before me. It wouldn't be hard. Because I'm
That's what
looking
she said.
through things. Yay.
I can't see us live.
It says it is in the dashboard.
Oh, I can now. There we go.
I can see it in the dashboard.
I've got it.
How do I find it on YouTube? I go to our channel, I guess.
I went.
Gaming. Roundup. Live stream. There it is. Hello.
I went.
Gaming. Oh, let's Roundup. Mute that. Then we don't hear all that.
Roundup.
Roundup. Well, hello everyone. And welcome to live news for October. It's nearly Halloween. There's only 2 of us here this month. I'm not sure if Sparkle's going to join us, but Scott is at work. So you got me and Random for definites. And we'll see what happens along the way. So Random, I'm going to let you go first with what you've been up to this month, because I've missed last month, so I've got a fuck ton of stuff to go through.
All right, no worries. As of course it is October, I've decided to always try and use it as an excuse to catch up on some of my spookier games from the backlog. Never usually works out, but this month I've played through Silent Hill 2, finally. It's been on my list for a while to get properly through that. Very good game that was indeed. I only did one of the endings. Probably will just have... I got a couple of tabs open on some of the other ending detail to sort of look through at some point. But yeah, I'll probably do that rather than play it again straight away. Because I then moved on to Luigi's Mansion 3.
3?
I've been holding off on
What's that
3,
on?
yeah.
Switch?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've been sort of holding off on playing that for a little while. Amber went through it whenever it pretty much straight away as it came out. Finished that this afternoon. It was about 23 hours with all gems and all boos found, which was probably a bit longer than I was actually expecting. It was, pretty meaty little game. Better than the second one. Maybe not as paced as well as the first. And they sort of got themselves in a bit of a corner where they've added so many sort of new mechanics that it's then just takes so much longer to sort of search all the rooms, because there's so many different ways you can look for stuff now. But some quite fairly clever little puzzles and bits and pieces and tricks in there. So yeah, quite enjoyed that. And then sort of started Metroid Fusion straight this afternoon after that. Good so far, only like an hour or so in. Not entirely sure about the controls at the moment. They seem a bit awkward, bit sort of the analog stick's a bit twitchy, I think, with whether you're pressing left or right or down at times, so you end up facing the wrong way or grabbing a ledge when you actually meant to just drop down, and some other bits and pieces, and sort of some of the weapon types that it layers on. They sort of end up with multiple shoulder button presses and things. So it's just getting my head around it, I think. But otherwise, it seems pretty good. It plays really fast. So I think I'll enjoy it. Just a little bit maybe frustrated at times. And that's sort of spooky gaming. But I also did some spooky film stuff and finished off the last 2 of the live action Resident Evil films. The penultimate one was weird because I was kind of like, I don't know whether I'm enjoying this. This seems like a bad film. But then when you sort of step away from it, it's like this. I was like, the story's just, it's kind of like a bad, cheesy video game kind of story. And then when you think about it, there's like corridors where they get the character gets locked in, and there's some enemies to defeat. And once the enemies are all defeated, the doors unlock. And it's like, this is kind of, a very video gamey kind of situation. And then it's structured with these different biomes, so it's almost like you've got different levels as well as they're going through it. So I think that one possibly very intentionally was set up to be, like a game. And when you look at it from that perspective, it's actually, it's kind of fun. And then the final one, they kind of clearly are having fun with the concept of clones in the series. And that was a decent enough film. Not brilliant, not groundbreaking, but definitely worth a watch. So good way to round out that sort of series. Obviously, be interesting to see what they do when they reboot the live actions. I think there's a trailer come out. I think it's planned for next year. Probably be October next year, knowing them. And finally, I had intended to check out Resident Evil 4 VR, which was released this month, but it's $30. Well, $30. I think it's 30 quid UK at the moment. So got other stuff to do, so I'm just going to wait for that on a sale. But everyone has been raving about it. It's a really good conversion. They've been smart about what they've done with it, and actually, it's not just like a remake of the original of 4 again, which is also coming, but it's kind of like a worthy standalone, on its own sort of different experience of going through Resident Evil 4. So we'll be looking forward to that. So yeah, I think that sums up October. So you can now fill us in with your September, October, and of course return to the retro scene.
Yeah. So going back to probably August show, there was a comment Scott made in the hardware flashback that amused me, and I actually lolled while I was listening. He was doing his "How Long Will It Last" series, and he came out with the phrase "degrading media," and referred to it as "no, not CNN, actual degrading media," which amused me at the time. So kind of split this up into books, movies, TV shows, and games. So we'll start with books. I wish the Americans were here, because I read one about the Pony Express, which was really interesting, actually. Only a little short book. And the Pony Express, it's like this pioneering thing that everyone knows about. It only lasted 16 months. And in the 1861, largely. But then, of course, we had trains by then, and trains were kind of crossing from the east and west and meeting in the middle and phased bits of the Pony Express out and eventually replaced it altogether. But the reasons behind it were good. Obviously, it was just before the Civil War, and California was in the Union but was largely separated from the Union physically. And so they had to get messages to and from California so that they didn't flip to the other side. Billy the Kid, Wild Bill Hickok, was a Pony Express rider. It was just a really interesting book that I like reading about bits of American history, and that was a good one. Speaking of books, I've got a bit of show and tell, so let me just check the camera is on the right one. There it is. So I got sent this. I've done a review on it in the show. If you're not listening live, you'll have heard it. Where's the camera? There it is. It is Pac-Man, Birth of an Icon, and it is a huge textbook. Comes in a sleeve like that, which the green screen is not making a very good job of. Let me see if the other camera does it any better. And I'll hold it that way. There you go. Now you can see it. So it comes out of its outer sleeve, its Pac-Man sleeve, and then you've got graphics there, which is the kill screen. And this is the collector's edition, so you've got a couple of books inside. So in this one is a little gold coin, and that is a 7-inch vinyl of Buckner and Garcia's Pac-Man Fever on yellow vinyl. Check that out. It's pretty nice.
I'm waiting. Oh, there it is.
There it is. There shouldn't be too much lag. There'll be a few seconds. Yeah. Just go into YouTube. I think there's about a 1 second lag on my LAN.
I was almost about to say, was almost about to say it's a shame they haven't got like the wedge cut out for his mouth, but then that's veering into SoCal territory.
Yeah, fine. A cut-out vinyl.
Great ideas that are thoroughly flawed.
Yeah, and then this is the book. It's over a foot tall, and you can see how thick it is there. Lovely cover. I'll just do a quick flick through of some of the pages. Lots of colour pictures, lots of text. Interviews in there. Pac-Man source code in there. Not all of it, but bits of it. So, I did a review on it. You will have heard it. And that is staying on my shelf. So let me just put that away. And then... I keep hitting the microphone. Not to worry.
It's not coming through too badly, actually.
Okay. So that's books done. Movies. I watched... Let me flip the camera back that away. I watched... So last month, Scott recommended... Oh, was it this month in the top 10? Might have been this month in the top 10. I think it was. The Police.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it was.
He recommended a movie called Runaway from the 80s, so I watched that. Obviously, a bit dated, being from that time, but it's not a bad film. It doesn't get good reviews, but it's not a bad film, and it's definitely worth a watch. It's poor man's Blade Runner, I think. I watched a film, speaking of Halloween and horror films and stuff, I watched one called The Final Girls, which you'll have to go out and look for. But it's kind of like the original Scream was, and that is a great movie. I love the original Scream, where it kind of parodies the horror films. It kind of tells you what's going to happen. You know, this girl's a virgin, so she's going to die, that kind of thing. Not the best film. It's not as high quality as Scream is, but definitely worth a watch. The Final Girls. I'll sit and watch it again, because I was kind of doing other stuff while it was on, but definitely a good film. I went to the cinema and watched No Time to Die, the new James Bond. Don't want to really do spoilers, but I liked a lot about it and I disliked a lot about it. It's not the best Bond. It's not Daniel Craig's best Bond, I don't think. Not a bad one to go out on, but they've just done some things that kind of annoyed me a little bit, where I don't think this is going to be a spoiler, but... like a Bond film, a classic Bond film, it was... I kind of likened it to Doctor Who's, when it was good in the 70s and 80s. Like, each individual story was self-contained kind of thing. There was no carryover apart from, changing the partners and that kind of thing. But James Bonds were always, start the film, there's a story, Bond wins in the end, and then... That's it. Nothing carried over, repeating characters and what have you. But I just don't like it where they kind of carry on into the next film, and it's sort of what they've done here. And I'm not sure what they're going to do with the next one. Let's put it that way. But a couple of things I didn't like about it, but they're probably spoilers.
Just before you carry on from there, in terms of James Bond, sort of.
Have you seen it?
Meeting. No, so I joined a meeting, a Monday morning sort of ops meeting the other week, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, I went to see the James Bond film at the weekend," and they're like, "Oh, have you seen it?" It's like, no, funnily enough, I actually started Bond from the beginning this weekend, and I'd watched Dr. No and From Russia with Love. Because there's loads there that I either haven't seen or have forgotten about. So I thought, fuck it, you know what? I'm just going to go through. I need I've been through all the Tremors, I've been through Resident Evil now. I need another series of films to go through. So, why not pick a nice small one?
Yeah, only 20 odd more to go. I've watched all the Bonds loads of times, apart from Quantum of Solace. I've only seen it once, and I watched it again last night. Lots of it I didn't remember, so I'm going through all the Daniel Craigs again. I watched, what was the first one? Casino Royale last week, I think it was, so... We're going through all the Daniel Craigs again. Quantum of Solace, not the best Bond again, but Skyfall's next, and that is a good one. So, moving on to TV shows. A couple of UK TV shows. One is Brassic. There was a new series of that. If you haven't watched Brassic, watch it. Set in Northern England, about a gang of lads getting up to mischief, shall we say, but it's really funny, very funny. That was good. Alma's Not Normal, which was a new series, just one season of it, and that's good as well. Some great appearances in that. So that was good. Ted Lasso. A lot of people diss Ted Lasso, but I think it's really funny. Watched season 2 of that. I'd watched season 1 when it came out. So got up to date on that. Back to Life. There's 2 seasons of that. That's quite funny as well. Not laugh out loud funny, but certainly a good time waster. It's about a girl who comes out of prison and tries to get her life back on track kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
Yeah, some funny moments in that, definitely. And then, of course, the one everyone's talking about, which is Squid Game. I watched that. Did you watch all of that, Random?
No, we watched the first episode, but we've got loads of series on hold at the moment because for various reasons. So we're actually currently rewatching season 1 of Australian Lego Masters at the moment. After we went through like both the English series, then all the Australian with one of the American ones somewhere sprinkled in there, and then we did this American series 2 to sort of finish it all off that was available. And then we just needed something shorter than what we had on our sort of list, so we ended up starting to go back through that. That's quality fun, that is.
Squid Game's worth going through. It is pretty good. There's a few scenes in it where you think, oh God, they're overacting this a bit, but then you've got to realise, it is dubbed, and it's maybe South Koreans express themselves slightly differently and more enthusiastically in certain situations, but definitely worth a watch.
So we got not very far through with it dubbed. I had this. It's the scene where the guy's in the house with his mum, and complaining about money and everything. And I got this real sort of strong Shenmue sort of quality voice acting vibe to it. And I was like, well, maybe I can deal with that. And then it sort of another minute later, like both of us just looked at each other. It's like, no, fuck it. Because we were eating, so we didn't want to put the subtitles on.
Yeah.
Because it meant we'd have to not be looking at the food. But it was just like, no, I can't do this. I've got to put subtitles back on and have it in the Korean. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of almost one though where I would want to maybe go through it twice, like, and do the dub and the subs and sort of see the sort of the difference. And I mean, it's not as bad as what was it? I think it was Money Heist, where we tried watching that with the subtitle with the dub on it, and that was just awful. It just didn't match up at all. So that we put the subtitles back on for that.
A lot of people have watched Squid Game a couple of times because there's been some videos come out on YouTube about spoilers in the not spoilers, clues in the early episodes as to what's happening and why. And a couple of them struck me as odd at the time, but I didn't realise what they were. But obviously seeing them revealed at the end, you think, oh yeah, that makes sense. So a couple of people have watched it twice to look out for all those things. And then I finally caught up on, well, didn't catch up because I hadn't started it, watched all of a series that I know Sparkle really likes. I wish he was here for this, but The Mandalorian. And very good, very, very good. I do like Star Wars, but I'm not a Star Wars nerd. The original 3 films, in the 70s and 80s, I think were the best. There's been some good ones since, but I think the last 2 or 3 just didn't really enjoy. So I wasn't really expecting too much from this. But honestly, I really enjoyed it. I marathoned in it in about 4 or 5 days, something like that. Just ploughed through it. It's not all that long. Most of the episodes are like 40 minutes. There's a couple of longer ones, but just really good. I'll probably watch it again at some point. But, I mean, I don't get into the whole, is it a prequel? Is Baby Yoda going to turn into Yoda? And why is he not a Jedi already? And does this affect any of the other films later and change anything? I just don't care. I really don't care. I just enjoyed the TV show for what it was, which was a good TV show. So if you haven't perchance seen it yet, go out and watch it. Or stay in and watch it. Definitely worth it. So finally,
pretty much. As I say, I was pretty much the same there. the newer Star Wars, I'd kind of started to doubt myself whether I actually liked Star Wars as much as I thought I might do. And then, so I'd held off on The Mandalorian because I was just like, I don't know. I'm not that fussed with Disney and what they've done with them particularly and all this lot. And I'm one of the weird people that likes Solo more than the actual mainline films and things like that. But yeah, really enjoyed The Mandalorian. Like, put the first one on and thought, yeah, fine, I'll give it a try. And then I just, came through the first series really quickly. Then the second series, again, didn't really take me too long. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. So finally then on to games. My sit-down Sega cab is finished apart from original monitor, which in working condition over here usually goes for about 300 quid. So it's got a flat screen in there at the moment and likely will have for a long time to come because they don't come up too often. So the last couple of jobs I did, I made a gear stick out of, believe it or not, a rolling pin. So there's a guy at work with a wood-turning lathe. And so I cut a section of rolling pin and he kind of tapered it and hollowed it out so it just kind of slid over the metal bar of the gear stick. And the seat covers I made myself as well. So it came as just bare plastic. They normally have the black seat pads on. And so I was thinking, I'll get myself some black leather material and some padding and make it. And then it just kind of fell into my hands, really. I was walking past, there's a compound at work where all the big bins are, and someone had chucked a couple of black leather bean bags out. So I grabbed them, emptied the beans out, and I unzipped it thinking there'll be like an inner bag full of beans. I'll just chuck that in the bin. No, it was literally unzip it and all the polystyrene balls are there. so I just poured them out into the bin. I bet when they emptied them, if there was a gust of wind, it would have looked like it was snowing. So I snagged two black leather bean bags. And then there's a food company over here. They have it in the US as well. Probably lots of other places people are listening. Called Hello Fresh, where they send you out, ready-made and measured ingredients and 3 recipes, and you've got everything you need to make a meal and full instructions. And they pack it in this country anyway. I've seen it packed differently in the States, but in this country, it's probably on camera. They pack it with this foam stuff. And it's obviously food safe. I don't know what it's made out of, but I don't suspect it's nuclear or anything like that. And so I just got a couple of layers of that. Got some really stiff cardboard, like off a box file and stuff. And cut the padding to size and then just sort of wrapped the leather around the back of it and held it down with this just really strong duct tape that I've got. And then there's some double-sided tape that Halfords sell, which is meant for holding registration numbers on your car and things like that. And so I just held it down onto the machine with that, and it's worked out really well. So I've got some black leather cushions on there now. So it's all up and running. It's working. Everything works. Like I say, it's just got a flat screen, and that's all. But I don't fancy paying $300 for a CRT. Onto the Microvision. As you know, the Microvision suffers screen rot, and there are replacement screens available. There's a thread on Atari Age where you can order them. And I ordered one ages ago, and it arrived a few months ago, but I think the Microvision was still packed away in a box somewhere from the move. But I finally got around to doing that. No soldering, just a really easy replacement. But I put it all back together with the new screen, and then like every pixel, if you imagine it's like, I don't know, 8 by 8 pixels, the screen, something like that, or blocks, and every one of them was kind of on. So I thought, oh shit, they've got a dodgy screen or a dodgy Microvision. But then I remembered, well, it did that before on the old screen, but I just assumed it was screen rot. So took it apart again, cleaned all the contacts, kind of rebent the edge connectors on the cartridge, put it back together again, and hey presto, the Microvision works, and the screen is fantastic. They do also do a backlit one. I didn't go for that. I don't think they were available at the time, so I just got the normal one, but played a bit of Microvision. I also finished off, there's a series of 8 Japanese-only Picross games on the SNES, so I finished those finally, completed number 8. Again, Picross on the 3DS, there's 8 of those on the store. I had a look again a couple of weeks ago to see if they'd done a number 9, and they hadn't by then. But I've done all those Picross E, they're called, off the store. Completed all those. Played through again another Picross game, Picture Puzzle, on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I went through Fire and Ice on the NES. It's one I've played a lot before, but never actually just got right to the end of it. So sat down and played Fire and Ice on the NES and completed it. So just a great puzzle game. Really, really like it. I then went to Zelda, Oracle of Ages on the Game Boy Color. Played all through that. And started Oracle of Seasons, but then a couple of weeks ago I cut my thumb while I was cooking. It bled a hell of a lot and it was really sore. There's a big flap of skin hanging off. It's healed up now pretty much, but I couldn't use a D-pad. It was too sore, so I ended up playing on the phone on Android with the stylus, the Namco Picross game. And so I fired through that a lot of the way, but an annoying thing about that game is, so you can play sort of 3 sets of levels anytime, but then a boss level will unlock every 3 hours, and I'm now at a stage where I've played every open access level, so now I can only play one level every 3 hours. There's no reason behind them making you wait other than you've got to go back in the app and see another ad, so that's pretty annoying, but it's been good. There's still a lot of levels left, so whether I complete it or not, I don't know, because I'm getting a new phone in a month or so, and it supports the stylus, but doesn't come with one, and so I'm not going to buy a separate stylus to play through the rest of that game, but just an annoying thing on that game, but it was pretty good. And what was... Oh, yes, so... Random, you're quite technical in a software and a hardware kind of way. So I've been using the Stadia controller as a USB controller on RetroPie. So obviously that USB-C slot has all the commands coming out of that controller, up, down, left, right, all the action buttons, etc. They're obviously all passing through that USB-C slot. So why hasn't anyone made a Bluetooth dongle that goes in the USB-C slot and passes all those commands to a Bluetooth laptop or receiver on your PC? There's no reason why that couldn't be done, is there?
So you're essentially going to be making a wireless... It'd be a universal wireless USB interface over Bluetooth. So you'd need like USB host controller chips, whatever conversion to Bluetooth you want to do. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing part of that is going to have to convert it over so the iOS sees it as a Bluetooth input device. Mm-hmm. It won't just be wireless USB encoded into radio. It sounds like a lot of more effort than it's probably worth, when most people are just like, fuck it, I'll get a long USB cable, or they'll do the what's the thing that Steam Link does with the USB over network? Because I've used that to use a PC steering wheel away from my PC.
Right.
USB Anywhere, something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I suppose you could do that over Wi-Fi. You're going to introduce a little bit of lag with that, but then you're going to introduce a little bit of lag with Bluetooth. Probably Wi-Fi 6, you'd probably get less lag, probably quite a good experience. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just you've got. There's not much point, people think, if you want something,
but if you think they've done
Bluetooth,
it for,
just get a Bluetooth controller, and if you want lower latency wireless, then just get a 2.4 gig wireless controller, because by the time you've paid 35 quid for a Bluetooth 8-bit DOE, then you'd be paying that much just for a converter that would, it'd be a universal USB thing, so it'd work with more than just one controller. But at the end of the day, it's probably not worth the effort. But
I see what you're
there's
saying,
no reason
but then
why
you
couldn't
think
homebrew one up.
then you think they've gone back and done like wireless controllers for the NES and things like that. 8-bit do have done them, and they have a receiver and what have you. So they've gone back and done it for a retro console.
Well, yeah, I mean that's different. So that's you've got the Bluetooth signal. Well, they do 2.4 gig and they do Bluetooth ones. But then the chip on there, the Bluetooth chip's obviously taking knows the controller, the Bluetooth controller standard. Converting that to like a NES pin standard is easier than trying to then finagle back over to USB and fucking about with that.
I want someone to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's probably. I don't see any reason why it's not feasible. And as a do-it-yourself project, it's probably worth it, but it's not probably worth it for a commercial project.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if there's. I bet AliExpress. There's something.
I've not looked there, to be honest, but yeah, I've never seen anything. But I do love the Stadia controller. Not so much the platform, but the controller's great. And I bought a second one from CEX online for grade B, obviously used. Grade B for 22 quid, which I didn't think was too bad. Grade A's are, I think, 28 quid, but a B will do me. Because, let's face it, player 2 will be using that. Not me. I'll be using the good one. So, moving on finally then to Play Blackpool, which was last weekend. None of the usual gang went over there. Gareth Owen, who is a listener to the show, friend of the show, shared a room with him, hung out with him for the weekend. And it was a good expo. What you'd expect from Blackpool. Things were spaced out a little bit more perhaps than usual, but it was quiet. There wasn't the massive queue outside, and there wasn't a huge amount of people inside. I mean, it was full, it was busy. Certainly not saying it wasn't a successful expo, but there just weren't the usual crowds that you'd normally see there, certainly. Whether that's because it was half-term and people have gone on holiday, or whether it's, I don't know, a COVID thing, and people don't want to get back to normal yet, but it was noticeably quieter, but it was good. So we went to one of the talks, and that was by Antstream. Wasn't the most riveting talk, but interesting nonetheless. And they had a demo unit of the platform there, but unfortunately we were stood watching it, people playing on it on this big screen, and it kept glitching and lagging a bit. So wasn't a great advert for it, but interesting nonetheless.
Show internet around the Norbreck.
Yeah, that's what we put it down to. Well, I'm not so sure about the glitches, but any lag and things like that I would put down to connection speed. Jim Bagley was there with a new invention. So he had this thing. You'll see pictures of it. There's pictures of it on the website. I'll drop a link to the gallery in the show notes. So he had like this microcontroller with 8 cores, and each of those cores was running a game screen. If you think of like the iPad in the arcade kind of thing, the little desktop arcade cab, but much smaller. Well, he had a little screen in there, obviously a joystick and a button, and each one of the cores was running each one of the screens, 8 cores, 8 screens, and they were just connected by one cable, an Ethernet cable. So he was using power over Ethernet and obviously the data over the other lines. And so you could unplug one of these things, unplug the network lead out of the back of the screen, which we did, but the game's still running on the core. So you plug it back in and it just carries on. It's not like it has to reboot or anything. So it was an interesting thing. Very low resolution games. Obviously, you could up it a bit with more power and what have you, but we suggested the idea of then having another monitor which kind of pulls together all 8 screens, and spreads them out across one display, so you could have somebody watching all 8 screens, kind of like the Tetris 99 thing did. So that was an interesting little thing to have a look at. There was a Ferrari F355 twin there, so I played on that quite a bit. Unfortunately, the right-hand side, there was something wrong with the throttle, so its acceleration and its top speed were down, so I just played on the left-hand one. But there were a few pinballs there, not a huge amount, but some really good games. So I spent some time with Twilight Zone. There were two versions of it there. One had been modded slightly, the other had a really bright and largely blue LED kit in. And it's a game that, I mean, I love the Twilight Zone. It's one of my favourite TV shows. And I really want to like the game more. It's very busy and confusing, to me anyway. But I finally started getting to grips with it and started to enjoy it. So I played that a lot. There was the brand new Elvira there, and that was a great game. Really good, played really well, looked and sounded great. Some clips from old, classic B horror movies and things like that on the DMD kind of screen. Not that it's a DMD anymore, but on the little screen. But the best game that was there, and which is now my new favourite pinball, was Stranger Things. I'd never seen it before the machine, and it had a queue to play it pretty much most of the weekend, but I went over in a few quiet spots and I just played a hell of a lot of it. Fantastic game. And if you've not seen it, you kind of picture in between your flippers, kind of just underneath there, kind of in the middle where the ball drains out, it's got a projector in there, tiny little projector, and so it projects videos onto a screen on the playfield, and then the little gates that kind of spin round when the balls go past them or through them. It even projects like little spirally images onto that, and it's crazy. It's just crazy, the technology in there. And then you get into like what's it called? Not the under. Is it called the upside down? You go into the upside down, and the whole colour of the playfield changes. It's got like black light on there, and it just makes the game look completely different. And then this screen is kind of into 3 sections. Then the middle section folds down onto the playfield and makes a ramp. And then you've got one. What's the monsters called? The
Demigorgon.
Demigorgon, yeah. It's got one of those there with like its mouth wide open, and you have to shoot the ball into its mouth to destroy it. It's just a great playing game, some great shots on it, some fantastic use of light and technology with the projector. Just never seen a game kind of that in-depth and that good before. That is my new favourite pinball. And that, now that my mouth's all dry after talking for so long, is me caught up to date for the last couple of months. So, with a hearty "Let's go, Brandon," I suppose we can get into some news, can we? Will that get us banned on YouTube, by the way? Can you say "Let's go, Brandon" on YouTube?
I don't even... Do I know what that...
Do you not know what it is?
I don't think I do.
Well, if we're going to get banned, we might as well get banned properly.
Yeah,
so there's, everyone's been shouting F Joe Biden at sports games and gatherings and things like that. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh my God! Do you know? Oh, random. Come on. So anyway, every time there's a large crowd well, not every time. That's unfair to say, but like baseball games, American football games, protests, things like that, people are shouting "Fuck Joe Biden," all chanting it at the same time. And so there was, I think it was a NASCAR race or something like that. Might have been NASCAR Light. There was a guy, the guy who won it was called Brandon. And there's a news reporter interviewing him in front of the crowd and congratulating him on his win. And all the crowd behind him are shouting, "Fuck Joe Biden." And she said, "Oh, listen to the crowd. They're shouting, 'Let's go, Brandon.'" It's like, no, they're not. And so now it's caught on as a meme. So all the crowds are now shouting, "Let's go, Brandon." And you can get T-shirts. Trump's been saying it at rallies and things. But is it Canadian Parliament, something like that? They came out and said, if anyone who works here comes out with the phrase "Let's go, Brandon," you'll get fired.
Oh dear.
So, if we're going to get kicked off YouTube for saying "Let's go, Brandon," I think saying it 6 or 7 times like I have will do it.
Well, hopefully the text speech to text gubbins will just think you've said "Let's go random."
Yeah, let's go random.
Or maybe if we say "Let's go random" too much, then we'll get taken off thinking I think we said the other.
Maybe it could work both ways. Possible show title: "Let's go random." In fact, that's probably as good as the one I've already got in mind. So I'll make a note of that. Start us off with a news item while I wet my whistle.
See it. It says "Let's go random," and go I shall. The first one sent in by Dave Lanky. That's me. It was a new SNES game that was created for SNES Dev Game Jam this year, which has gone up on itch.io for free. It's a little platformer. You play as a witch. You've got a little owl friend, and you're on a hiking adventure trying to find the legendary Edelweiss flower. And you've got some mechanics of sort of drilling through block puzzles. You can use a mirror to essentially take control of the owl and then solve some other little puzzles by using the owl's vision to reveal secrets and things. All runs pretty nicely, and like I say, I assume it's still free. I will double check for you. It's on itch.io. Oh dear! I've fucked my Google up.
You broke the internet.
I have definitely done something wrong here. Yeah, here we go. So by Goldie Lock. It's just download the ROM file. Off you go. So there's a free SNES game for you to play around with. I can carry on if you like.
Just to mention itch.io, I was on there, so I got back from the expo, and as I always do, I like to go through, my gaming stuff and think, I could do with this, could do with that. I bought a few odd bits and ends, and then I thought, I'll have a look to see what games are on Android, because I was going through the Namco thing and waiting 3 hours for a level, so I was going through, and you can filter it by Android. There's quite a few Android games on there.
Yeah, I always meant to stick James and Watch on there, but never did.
Yeah.
AD stuck his things on there. I suppose there's no way to get revenue from the ads if he's giving it away for free on itch.io.
No. The annoying ads. So this one, we see a story like this every so often, sent in again by Dave Lanky. Dutch legend has been running his campsite since 1986 using an Atari ST. And you can read the article there. And he is indeed using an old ST to run his business on. And I used to say that to people. They'd always come to me and say, I need a new laptop. I need to do this and I need to do that. And I'm like, well, does your computer do it now? Yeah. Well, why will it not do tomorrow? And they're like, well, I need a new one. Well, you don't necessarily. So you don't necessarily need to upgrade an Atari ST either.
No, if it does the job, why not? I worked in a photographic studio back in 2003-ish, and they were using BBC Micros to run XY plotters to do all the calligraphy for names of sports teams and things on photo frames, and they had like a mezzanine sort of storage floor that was just piled with loads and loads of them that they used to get from Cambridge University when anyone sort of came across some old ones in store cupboards and things, just so that in case they broke, they had spares. And there was, they'd bought a Windows PC and a newer plotter, and we're trying to hook that up and get that to run, but it just never ran quite as well. It was always sort of a bit more temperamental, whereas aside from occasionally a floppy disk dying, the BBC Micros ran well flawlessly.
Yeah.
So
Cadbury's were using BBC Micros still to print out delivery notes in the late 90s, because I used to get them from there.
Cool. So another one by me. Had a bit of a heavy Dave Lankey start to the news. This was someone that's made sort of tiny little Atari 2600, complete with a TV and a Dance Dance Revolution arcade machine. Usually with these sort of very tiny things, they're interesting sort of things to put on your shelf, but maybe not quite playable. The Dance Dance Revolution I'd put into that category. It's easy enough to press the buttons, but just doing it with your fingers isn't really the same thing. But the Atari, which they show sort of running Pong, I think with it being one button and the joystick, I think actually is probably quite reasonably playable. So it's not just a sort of a little thing to keep on your shelf and look nice. You probably get away with, this probably has some playability, but the whole sort of console and joystick fit very easily in the palm of someone's hand, and then it's got like a fake RF box, and then the CRT, which is roughly, well, no, it's probably not to scale with the Atari. It's probably a little bit on the small side maybe, but yeah, looks pretty cool. I don't know whether they're gonna, make them and try and commercialize them, or if it's just it was a fun 3D printing and electronics project. But yeah, worth having a little look at for some inspiration.
Something else worth having a look at, breaking up the Dave Lankey flow, was one sent in by Andrew Costin. Outrun turns 35. It's on wired.co.uk and it's entitled How Outrun Changed Video Games Forever. I don't know if it necessarily did that, but it was certainly a great game. There's an article there that you can have a read through at your leisure.
Yeah, I can't think it was like the first to do anything particularly. I think it was a step up on the Sega Super Scaler hardware at the time, but it was an evolution of that. As power increased. In terms of driving games, there was.
They had a couple of environmentals, didn't they? And they had the full size. Was it an MX-5? They had a full size car and a huge projector screen. Maybe the first to do that.
Yeah, I guess possibly. But yeah, it's a good game. So we'll go back into the Dave Lankey zone.
Just before you go into the Dave Lankey zone, we might be able to go into the Sparkle Plus zone. I think he's there now. Hello.
Hey.
There you are. Yeah, we did start.
America. You're live.
What the heck?
Usual time, 7 o'clock, dude.
I posted my times.
You said, what did you say about today? Well, not that it matters. We've only just started. We've been catching up with my 2 months of news. We've only done 3 or 4 news items, so don't have a cow, man. Well, do you want to tell us what you've been doing this last month before we carry on with news?
Man, I mean, things are reopening all over the great land of the United States, and it means I am busy as shit. So, been working like crazy, man. So I really haven't got into too many retro games. Got a chance to play Mandalorian, pretty cool. There's a Godzilla that just got placed near me, so I'm hoping to go try my hand at that this weekend. It's Halloween weekend, so pretty excited, dressing up as Jason as normal. And my kids are dressing up as camp counselors. And we got these like
and you're going to kill him.
Yeah. We got like fake knives and like machetes that are kind of like cut like headbands. So they're going to like wear them in their heads and be like, victim camp counselors type thing. So that should be pretty fun. But one thing, and it's too bad that Subaru Brat couldn't join us, because I convinced him to start playing online games.
What?
Yes, folks. Yeah. Whoa. Hell has officially frozen over. Mark it down, the month of October 2021. after much debate and listening to him pontificate for hours about how he should be able to play online games for free, he did succumb to my request and got himself a PlayStation Plus membership so he could play online. And we've been playing Back for Blood, which is really fun. I was a big fan of the Left 4 Dead franchise, which was Turtle Rock, and I think that was owned by Valve, and then they kind of spun those guys off or something. And in the process, I don't think they were able to keep the license. So this Back for Blood is sort of the spiritual successor. And gosh, that game's like well over 10 years old at this point. And I still have it on my Steam account and still play it once in a while. It still works great. 3 computers later or whatever it is. I know that a lot of our fan base is not into digital stuff, and I'm one. I'd prefer to own the physical media as well. But I bought Left 4 Dead originally for, I don't know, maybe $30 or something. I'm still playing it a decade later. I feel like I've gotten more than my fair share of value out of it. I don't have a physical copy of that game, but this one, Back for Blood, I bought the hard copy. You do need it's sort of a online 4-player co-op. You kind of have a team of 4 players. You can go through different missions, upgrade your characters along the way. It's post-apocalyptic zombie stuff. It's just a ton of fun. I'm having a lot of fun playing. Even got Scott in there on a couple games and maybe try to get him nailed down to do another online session. But you do need an account to play online. It does have cross compatibility. So I've played with people on PC and Xbox and PlayStation all together. It's just a fun zombie romp. It's I don't know, $60 or something. I recommend it. It's been a blast for us. Yeah, so that's been my main thing. It's hard as shit. There's some really great moments. Like we were playing one board where you have to kind of like go into a bar and create a diversion, and there's just zombies pouring in the bar the whole time, and it feels kind of like a biker bar. You have to keep the jukebox playing while zombies are attacking, so like the rest of the crew can kind of make it out. And it has like some like Pulp Fiction music going, and it's just like utter madness. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about that game. I'm really enjoying that. But yeah, I'm just doing the Halloween thing every year. Hand out mini bottles of liquor to all the parents that come through. We got the big candy bars, so Halloween's kind of a big deal over here. And that's me. And I'm going to log in so I can see what other news stories. So if you fellas want to continue, go for it. But yeah, Scott was, it was great to get him in there online because, he felt like you shouldn't have to pay to play online and stuff. But, with all the matchmaking, you get updates and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. You get a free game every month. And, I got like Star Wars Squadrons or something a few months back. And I played that game the whole way through, and I feel like I get good value out of it. Like, and I get like, okay, you don't really own it; you're just kind of renting this stuff. But I mean, you got plenty of games that you probably never go back to that you have hard copies. I don't think it's an unfair price. I'll put it that way. So anyway, if any of you guys are playing, feel free to friend me on PlayStation Network. It's Sparklepuss on there, so you could just send me a friend request and jump in a game. There you go.
So while you're here, and just to be fair, I have played online with Scott before, but we mustn't have had to pay because I never paid. We used to play Worms on the PS3. There's a few of us used to do that. So while you're here and logging into news, there's a couple of things that I mentioned that I know you're enthusiastic about. One was the Mandalorian TV show, which I've never watched. I went through that in about 4 or 5 days. Loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was really good. I watched I finished up Dune last night. I don't know if you had a chance to see Dune, but
I wasn't going to. I didn't like the first one.
Yeah, I don't. if you read the books, the books are great sci-fi. I mean, it's just an epic, sweeping series of novels. So, one of these things, much like other works of great science fiction, probably hard to do. Um, in a way, I think it probably would have been better for them to do a series, kind of like a la Game of Thrones or something like that, where they could fit more in. I get why they did the movie. My only it kind of felt like a bit of an appetizer, or not quite. Like, yeah, there's some like crazy moments, but for pushing 2 hours and 30 minutes, you feel like you're just getting the tip, like you're not getting everything yet, but it's fantastic. I mean, it's just visual porn the whole way through. They really layer on a sense of the universe and everything else. So, no, I think it's well done. I'm enjoying it.
So I played a couple of pins at Play Expo that I can't remember if you said you'd played or not. I played the new Elvira. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good playing game. I did enjoy that. But what blew it out of the water for me anyway, and my new favourite pin is Stranger Things. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
And I was playing the LE, so maybe the one you played wasn't. I don't know.
There's just something weird about the whole Demogorg thing in the middle. Like, I wasn't loving some of the shots. In the middle of the play field, I don't know. It just like it felt like it. I've played it a couple times, and it's never been one. Like, I think with any pinball, you really gotta play it, And if you own one, that, with video games, you can kind of get through them in a few hours in some cases, right? And kind of master the game. With a good pin, I mean, it could take you months or years to really understand how you play it and everything. So let me caveat, what I'm about to say with that. Just saying, like, I've probably spent $20 or something on a Stranger Things. So, I haven't given it enough time to understand the rule sets and all that and what have you. I mean, but I didn't care for it. What did you particularly like about it?
Funny you said about the shots. I thought it had some good shots on it. I really like the Demogorgon getting the ball in its mouth. I love the effects of the projector. Just even on the little, I don't know what they're called, but the targets, the like spinning targets when you send the ball through up the ramp or whatever, and they spin round, even projecting onto there. I just thought it was a really good use of technology. I think when you go in the upside down and the whole thing changes colour, you get all the blue and the black light. I just thought it's like it's literally like playing a different game when you're in the upside down.
Yeah, there's just I think I was having a hard time with the shots on the like maybe the one that I've played a few times, it didn't seem like they would stick to it very well. It could have just been the one that I played need adjustment. It's there. I might try to play it this weekend, actually, now that you mention it, like go back to it. But I've just had more fun playing some of the other like kind of rock star games and stuff, if you will. You know what I mean? Like band games.
Yeah. They had a Metallica at play, but it was broken all weekend apart from a couple of hours, and the right flipper was still sticking even then. So I think that was the only music one they had. But the Stranger Things and the Elvira, what I did notice, normally at Expo, if you look at the spirit level, it's ramped way up, so it's too steep, so your game doesn't last too long. This was set just right, so the bubble's right in the middle of the spirit level. So maybe, if the one you're playing isn't just quite leveled right, then maybe it play a bit differently. It certainly make the shots harder and the drains easier.
Yeah. Nah, you know what? Out of the recent like last couple years, I feel like Turtles is one of my favorite.
Haven't seen
Have you played that yet?
No, haven't seen one of those.
Yeah.
I literally
that's,
only see them at Expo or Arcade Club, and in general, the Arcade Club ones always need a bit of work, and depending what's at Expo is what I get to play.
Well, I got a news story up here, and
I'll say just quickly before you say that, yeah, you reminded me that I played a bit of Back for Blood as well, with my sort of Thursday night crew, because that's on Xbox Game Pass, for console and PC. So we all jumped onto there. We've had a couple of sessions, and I mean I've not been in the best of frame of mind when I've been playing it. I've been very tired. But I kind of like the card system, and how you can really kind of build a deck, to sort of really sort of specialize a character in a particular direction. So you can have like one guy on the team that's an absolute melee, like ninja, just going at the front, just swinging baseball bats, and they're getting health back for all the kills. And then you can really sort of
Leroy Jenkins.
well, yeah, exactly. And then I was one of the guys who I ended up with being able to carry 5 Molotov cocktails at one point. So it was just absolutely bonkers. I'd just be firing off all, I always have a supply of Molotovs to throw into big crowds and things, and it was great fun. Maybe the only thing is, is the larger, what are they called? They're not called. Well, whatever they call it, zombies,
Ogres?
like the Riddens, aren't
Breakers,
they?
and the
Ridden.
Ridden.
So yeah, the special ones, they seem to like Left 4 Dead. Like there was a lot of hype around the AI director and how they were sort of bringing in swarms dynamically, and this just seems like it's almost like, oh, we're just suddenly just going to spawn a fuck ton of like, particularly the guys with the one big arm that we call like the wanky hands man. Just suddenly like loads of those will just appear like behind your squad and just be pummeling the shit out of you, and then like the boomers seem to vomit from a ridiculous distance, and things like that. And sort of that combined with the crows, the packs of crows, which seem to be like sometimes a little bit too sensitive. Like you can just a stray shot can seem to go quite far down the map, but it will then like, you won't have even seen the flock of birds, but it'll trigger them, and then suddenly you've got another fucking horde on you. But then it is quite funny when it's just like, oh, Dave has startled the birds or something, flashes up on everyone's screen, and you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake, what have you done, you twat? Oh, so, and that's quite good. I think for us, we've just struggled with sort of people needing to sort of drop in and out at times to sort of put kids to bed and things like that. And then me wanting to finish a bit early is like, you kind of feel like you need to do the levels in quite in that block succession, to be, continuously picking up new cards each round, applying new traits and stuff, and really sort of building up to the end. And they try and get you around that by, we did have to join in at the end, like the very last mission as like, the start of the session one time. And it kind of went, here's a load of extra money, and stuff, so that there's the little buying crate in the safe room when you start. And so you could buy quite a lot of stuff to sort of juice up, get some attachments to the weapons and things like that. But, you always get this nagging feeling of like, this is kind of designed for us to sit and play this for 8 hours solid together and just work through it rather than dipping in and out. Yeah, it's pretty good fun.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Like, it's a challenging game, even on the easiest setting. So
yeah, certainly, like one of our mates, he played with some guys that are sort of do a lot of team PC games, and he was like, I can't believe, like, because we're always just like, Thursday night is a night where we drink whiskey and just dick about. We don't take anything too seriously. And he was like, I played one night with this other crew, and they were just, they're all like barking orders, they're all like coordinated, and they're right, you flank this way, you do it this way, right, I'm gonna take all of the health, I'm gonna be on point for resurrecting, and like really coordinating properly and doing well. And then we're just like, this ramshackle bunch of idiots just running around, just shooting shotguns off all over the place, and yeah, just not really doing so well.
The one session I played with Scott, one of my buddies from college joined, and just like completely diametrically opposed, like personality wise from Scott, if you could imagine. And this guy the whole time was like, motherfucking shit, holy fuck, like just going off, like running his mouth the whole time. And then Scott's like, dude, that one game we played, that fucking guy in there, he's like, holy shit. He's like, who's that random ass guy? Like, I had to fucking mute him. He's like, I couldn't stand it. I was like, yeah, you just get these random guys fucking join these games and shit. Anyway, back to the news. Looks like Konami is inviting indie devs to make new games based on some of its classic series. So they announced that they're doing an indie game contest for small developers to make some new games for their classics like Gradius and many more. So this is interesting. It's, you know, you kind of wonder why they haven't done something with some of this IP they've been sitting on. I mean, you know, unless I missed it, like I haven't seen a Silent Hill for a while. You know,
that was troubled because the whole PT Silent Hills thing there. You know, supposedly they wanted Kojima to work on it until they fell out with him. There's been sort of rumblings of it coming back, but they're not. They stopped really making anything for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, even you know, you got Castlevania. Gosh, like Konami was like on the top of the mountain at one point. I mean, you know, if you think about some of their franchises, let me just
certainly bigger or as big as Capcom, who, you know, they also went through a bit of a doldrums, didn't really come out of maybe PS3 360 era with doing quite so well, and then, you know, Resident Evil and Monster Hunter sort of really turned it round for them in terms of sales. They're certainly, you know, they've been knocking everything they're doing out of the park. You know, still maybe not doing as much with some of their games as you'd like, but yeah, certainly Konami sort of just went off the rails a bit.
Do you think this is good, or do you think it's lazy? Here's our games, make 'em, bitches.
It depends on the deals and how any of it's structured. I mean, I think, was it Square Enix tried to do this a while ago? I don't really know of anything that came from it. You could kind of argue Sonic Mania was a similar sort of thing where they had someone make, you know, I can't remember his name now, but Christian Whitehead, who made the Sonic, made his own Sonic engine. And you know, the fans had been doing quite good jobs of making games with it and things, so they kind of brought them on board and said, well, you know, tell you what, why don't you make the next Sonic game? We'll see how it goes. And that worked out really well.
I think they you know, at some point in the 2000s, they kind of went all in on all this dance beat mania shit, you know what I mean? And then they just seemed to lost their mojo from everything that existed before that. Maybe that crap was making so much money for them, like all the music type games, that now like they just don't have it. But I mean, God, like Sunset Riders, Jackal, Lethal Enforcers, you know, the whole Parodius, Gradius series, Contra. I mean, even some of their stuff like Blades of Steel, or, you know, some of their early sports games that were kind of generic, probably could like Double Dribble. Like, it just seems like people had an affinity for some of that. I mean, you had like Russian Attack, like there's so many games that could have been redone at this point. It's just like, it's just weird that they haven't done anything else.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it must have been, yeah, thinking about it again in the PS3 360 era, they had sort of some misses with Silent Hill, that especially like the shiny entertainment one, Homecoming, that sort of had a bad reception. Did Lords of Shadow with Mercury Steam, which is all right, but it's not brilliant, and I think that kind of soured them on doing much more with Castlevania properly for a bit. And
But
that's
what's
why
that new one? Blood Ritual or whatever? Or
that's why I was gonna say that's why Bloodstained
Bloodstain?
cropped
Yeah.
up, and that was kind of similar to how Capcom had been neglecting sort of Mega Man. So Inafune went and tried to make Mighty Number 9, which didn't go so well. Then Capcom ended up making a new Mega Man, and it was actually good, and did quite well. So I think they're going to carry on with that. Konami have done a Castlevania recently on Apple Arcade, but a lot of people are not happy with that, I don't think.
Oh, I've been playing that. It's pretty good.
Okay. I'd heard sort of, sort of usually below average sort of things about it, but not got a chance to sort of play it myself.
I'm happy to rent it at $5 a month on Apple Arcade. If I had paid more than $20 for it, I think I would have been disappointed. But I paid full price for Bloodstain, and I've played the hell out of that. I mean, that game's great.
Bloodstain was fantastic.
Yeah, like incredible. Like if I would have paid $100 for that, it would have been worth the money. Like, in fact, I might have to buy it on the Switch just so I can take it portable and stuff. Like I love that game. That's if you're a Castlevania fan, like, and you haven't picked that up yet, like I don't know what the hell you're waiting for.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's been a big boom of Metroidvanias, and then it's almost like Nintendo finally gone, shit. Do you think we should actually like make a new Metroid, and brought one out? And yeah, you kind of wonder if like are they also thinking like shit, we should make like Castlevanias again, like Symphony of the Night. But then also, I mean, to be fair though, the spin-off Bloodstained games that were like the NES, the more arcadey Castlevania style, people love those. I love those.
They're great.
They did quite well. So there's no reason why Konami shouldn't do those as well. But I think that I think there's some reluctance there to really do much with it. It's a bit of a shame.
There's a great animated GIF on there, Random, if you're watching the stream.
Oh, fantastic. Look at that. That's a good way to get into the back of a pickup, isn't it? Something else you can pick up.
See what you did there.
I sent one in. It's Pimeroni, Sheffield-based sort of Raspberry Pi and Maker type people have brought out something called the Pico system, which is based around the RP2040 Raspberry Pi's microcontroller board, and it's basically a little handheld console that runs with that inside, and it's in a really nice CNC aluminium shell, so it's pretty premium feeling. It looks pretty snazzy design on it. It's got a square aspect 240 by 240 screen, being sort of RP2040 based. It's all completely sort of user programmable. There's a game from the community preloaded on it, and some others knocking about that you can grab. And it is £58.50 in British money. I think I like the look of it. I'd quite like to make something for it. I know some of my friends would as well. We're sort of holding off because we don't really have the time. There's plenty of things we could make. And one guy's sort of gone down a rabbit hole of trying to make digital art to sell as NFTs, just to see if he can make a quick buck. So he's spending his spare time doing that at the moment. But I'm going to try and remember to keep an eye on how the sort of the ecosystem develops, and whether some interesting games come out. I might pick one up because it's not a lot of money. 4 buttons and a D-pad. nice little handheld gaming system.
It is. What size is the screen? Does it say there? 240 by 240. Does it say what the actual size?
1.5-inch diagonal.
Yeah, because I dug out the other day my Game Boy Advance Micro. Is that a GBA Micro?
Yeah.
Wow, that screen! It was painful, dude. It's too small. I always had that impression, but now since I need glasses to read, it's crazy how small that screen is. I was trying to play Tetris on it, and I did all right in the end, but it's just too small. Just
I
make
remember,
it
I remember
bit
trying
bigger.
to play Final Fantasy Tactics Advance on it, and like Advance Wars and things
Bloody
like that,
hell.
like with a fair bit of
With text on, yeah.
and it's just like, oh my god, yeah. Whereas I'm trying to see what the Anbernic 351P that I have, which is sort of my main handheld emulation device at the moment, that's a 3.5-inch screen, and I feel like that. No, it's a 3x2 aspect, so it's not ideal for like TV console stuff. But I feel like that's maybe a little bit. That's sort of like borderline as small as you'd want to go these days for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is. I mean, 1.5-inch, pretty small, but then it's not sort of super high res, so you're not going to get. They're not going to. I don't think anyone's going to be trying to do anything too detailed on it. So it could be quite nice. That's. But it's more than Atari VCS resolution, isn't it? It was basically a square aspect NES screen wise.
Yeah.
So, little pocketable thing to tinker around with, make your own shit. I think it's pretty much impulse money.
All right. Impulse. Intellivision Amico. You guys want to talk about that?
That's not an impulse buy.
Not really, but go on.
Yeah. So, I think all of us on the show know Tommy Tallarico or worked with him in some capacity. He's been around the video game industry a long time. Friends of the show working on that project as well. I think everybody had some pretty high hopes. I know Scott he's pre-ordered 2 of these things. And I think everyone was interested in the physical media aspect of it. Now, honestly, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I thought originally it was supposed to be, you don't need to be in the internet. You could plug in physical media. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was like part of the draw to the collector, the old school collector market, like blah, blah, blah. And they've revealed their physical, non-physical media. So, there's a lot of games for the system that I've seen sneak peeks look pretty good. I've downloaded the app. I've played a little Moon Patrol teaser on my phone. Had some fun with that. Bite-sized games, family system. The cornhole game looks particularly fun for me and my family. Pretty excited about this. Now, I haven't pre-ordered. I was going to and then decided not to. I may still order one, but they're selling physical boxes of the games. And it comes in a cute little, recyclable, sustainable box, which, good for you. That's definitely something a lot of people are looking for. And inside the box, you get like a coin, like a collector's coin or something for the game. You get a lenticular card for the game, so you can collect these lenticular cards. And then the physical game itself is actually like maybe double the size of a credit card. And it's like, it looks kind of like a top down of like an old Atari cartridge or something like that, but it is really an RFID tag that acts as an NFT. So you have, blockchain ownership of the game that you can transfer to people. And essentially you stick this thing onto your, like, lay it on top of your machine or something, and then it's going to download the game. And they kind of gloss over this in their reveal video pretty quickly. It's like, yeah, like, it's great because you can transfer it just like a regular game to people, and it's stored, and it's kind of, then it's in the registry, and trade it and blah blah blah, take it to your friend. You only have to be connected to the internet once, and then it's on your system, and da 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 da, and that's it. I think you're kind of blurring the lines of what is physical media at that point.
Definitely.
Like I couldn't like bring this to a cabin in the woods and plug it in and start playing it. So the fact that you have to connect to the internet at least once to download it to your machine, I don't think we can call this physical media.
No, we can't. And I watched the video, I think it was this morning. Pat, the NES punk, did a video this morning. So people have been scanning these RFID chips and finding out what they're doing and where they're going. And they're just going to a URL on the Intellivision website. It's not encrypted. It's not protected. And so whether they're going to fix that or whether... you can just rip the games using that URL. Nobody really knows yet because they've not got an Amico. So I think there's a lot of work to do if they're going to protect the games.
Yeah, I mean, like RFID copying now is rife. There's you can get bootleg Amiibo stuff all over the place, things like that. So.
People put them on the London Tube and scan RFID things off people's passes and get on the tube for free.
Yeah. So yeah, it does make you wonder. Like, is someone just gonna stick a thing up for this? And
yeah, but it's like the grandma that buys this for like the impulse Christmas gift.
I don't think it's going to be readily available enough for them to do that. At the moment, I just don't see this hitting stores in a big way. So I don't think Grandma's going to even see one.
I thought that they partnered with GameStop, but I mean, most people are buying stuff.
Does Grandma go to GameStop? I don't know. Does she go to
Walmart, Target or something? Like, is it going to be there? I don't know. They may have said if it will be in some of those big box retailers, at least over here. I gotta imagine people are gonna buy this, primarily off of Amazon or through their own store. I know it had the GameStop exclusive. I still see, our seasoned crowd in the GameStop with their kids around the holidays, like taking their kids in there, or like, I'm at the mall 2 weeks ago, buying ridiculously priced tennis shoes for my kids, and walk past a GameStop and see some parents and stuff, or grandparents in there with their kids buying them crap. They didn't look particularly tech savvy, like they're gonna, go on some forum and figure out how to download games for their kids. I mean, it would be more likely that their 10-year-old would figure out how to rip it off than the parent would, I guess. But I don't know. Like, it's definitely a bit of a bummer. That's the way it's gone. But I mean, I'm assuming, just kind of knowing enough about Tommy and some of the crew that's doing this, I'm guessing they just probably had to come to a dollars and cents realization that in order to do physical cartridges, air quotes, physical cartridges, this was likely the only way that it was going to be feasible. So, instead of just abandon it and go straight digital, they came up with sort of this semi-gimmicky NFT RFID thing. And, maybe that appeals to some segment of the crowd that, on TikTok that is into this whole NFT thing, and they think it's cool, and maybe somebody has a limited edition, or I don't know. It definitely opens up some other possibilities, because I gotta imagine making those little cards is pretty dirt cheap. So I could see printing off
We buy
that.
those cards with an RFID chip in for like kids' dinner money and things like that. And I think the ones we have are a bit more expensive. We pay like £2 each, but you can get them for less than that. You can get them for like just over £1.
But I could see doing a run of games, and let's just say they're printing 10,000 of these things, and they're like, put one in a rainbow colored, print a rainbow colored version, print 10 of them, and put some kind of, special thing in the game digitally. Like, I could see there, then being like, oh, I got one of the magical limited edition variant versions or something. Like, I think it opens it up. Whereas if you want to do plastic and mold injected physical thing, like, it would be hideously expensive. So I don't know. I see some potential there, and like it opens up some other opportunities, but yeah, a bit of a bummer. I'm sure. I wish Scott was here to rant and rage for the next 15 minutes about it.
Well, something else that's a bummer sent in by David Gyrick is the composer from Dragon Quest, Koichi Sugiyama, has died, aged 90. Rest in peace, Koichi.
Yes, it's sort of maybe a sad thing because he was still composing. I think he's in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Now he's decomposing.
What?
Oh, too soon. Too soon.
Damn.
Boom. I think it was. Like I say, I think it was in Guinness Book of World Records for being the oldest video game composer or something like that. So maybe a bad thing for that, but maybe a positive thing because he was prone to cock blocking things like the full orchestral soundtracks that they do in like certain markets. Like, you'd never let them go outside of the Japanese games, and so you'd end up with some of the European and American releases with just like half-assed MIDI interpretations of the music and things like that. There's all sorts of weird shit like that. David points out he's a controversial man. He had some opinions. I guess he's an old dude. Old people, are crotchety, and we know can be a bit like that. Whether Holocaust denial and things like that comes under that banner, I don't know, but yes, important figure nonetheless. Not only Dragon Quest, also did Shuren the Wanderer, which is one of my favourite series. Is
Another one here. I think it's David Gyrick again. Yes, it is, rounding out a hat trick for him. Tron, the arcade machine, is now available in the arcade one-up style, the kind of reduced form factor arcade cabs. The small, the 3/4 size, something like that, and you can get a pedestal to put them on. But I can't remember if we talked about this one before, but they've done the whole blacklight thing again, and just made what appears to be a really good job of it. I've never seen one of those machines in the flesh. I guess they don't go to Expo. They're pretty much a home collection kind of thing, but I wouldn't mind seeing one, having a look.
Got another one here. Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack pricing revealed. They announced some Animal Crossing paid expansion packs and some additional games for online. So you'll be able to do the Mario 64 game, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox, Ocarina of Time, Tennis, Dr. Mario, Win Back, some other stuff. Now, I will say that, I've been kind of happy with the online. You'll be able to get like Genesis games and the Nintendo 64 and the Animal Crossing with this like expansion pack membership. But I've been pretty happy with the stuff that I've gotten from Switch Online. But I don't know. I feel like there's some holes, and they released some of the weird Japanese release only games, which is kind of nice, but somehow like buying the membership, and maybe I'm just like too dumb, but uh, I signed it up for my account. Like my kids wanted to play something online. Like I want to say it was like the Marvel game or something. They had played further than me, and like their characters wouldn't transfer over to my account for us to play online with like my buddy in California. Somehow like we had to add a family account and for my daughters to play or something. It was like so confusing, and I feel like somehow I paid like $120 for us to play online. Like I ended up with like multiple accounts or something. It's so damn confusing. Then you got to like go through PayPal on their thing, and it's just like I don't know. It just seems like a mess, man. Like I don't understand why everybody can't just play, but whatever. Like this shit's out there.
It's getting some
Yeah.
stick as well because there's particularly the N64, the emulation has been criticised a lot. There's a video on YouTube of someone playing the Mario Kart 4-player. I think there's only 3 players in it, but it's split the screen into 4, and it's like 6 frames a second or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with it. There's sort of a lot of fog missing on things like Zelda, which completely like it just doesn't look right. There's a bunch of texture issues in some games. They've not emulated the memory packs for the controllers, so some games you can't even save stuff in. Well, outside of using save states. Yeah, and the performance isn't great, and there's loads of input lags supposedly as well. So it's a bit of a shame that, they used to be fairly strong with some of their emulation stuff, and then this, they've doubled the price essentially of the online membership. And the problem I quite like Sparkler said, the NES and SNES games. There's some interesting things there that you wouldn't think they'd maybe put out, and some fun stuff. But you always end up with the same, it's this same thing again of, Nintendo's starting another virtual console type service, and like Sega do it every time they bring out a Mega Drive Classics for another platform. It's right. Let's start right back from the beginning again with Mario and Zelda, and then you've got to wait so long for them to actually put the interesting stuff back on, and it's just that same shit over and over again, rather than just going, starting with like, right, we were up to this point, here's all of that, and then we're going to build on it. So obviously with the N64 stuff, they're starting like that, and I was kind of interested a bit because I thought, well, this might be finally a nice handheld way to play N64 games. But the price kind of put me off. I could get around it maybe so at the moment, I ended up with a family plan once we found out that Amber was going to play a lot of Animal Crossing online. It didn't make sense for her to pay for her own account and me to pay for my account. The family plan was just slightly cheaper, just for the two of us. So we did that, and then as we got Monster Hunter, and a couple of my mates hadn't got Switch Online at that point because there wasn't any need to, rather than them buy it, I just slapped them onto my family account. And in theory, if the 4 of us were sharing the cost, it wouldn't be that much to then even split, start splitting the expansion pack as well. But none of us are particularly overly bothered, so it's just not going to happen. But I mean, that if anyone's interested, that is my recommendation for doing it, is to just sort of do a syndicate with a few mates, and yeah, all chip in like $5, and then get access to the whole lot between you. It's what we used to do with Sony with the PlayStation network stuff as well, because of the way their account sort of authorization used to work. You used to be able to share, have a central account that bought the games. Everyone has that account registered on their machine, and it means their own accounts can play all the games that one account buys. and you can still play online against each other and stuff like that. So it's a long.
You recommend being shady, and then it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do it. They know it goes on. They don't put anything in there to stop. Spotify their family accounts, because we looked into them for like office accounts, and they kind of at least make an effort to be like, well, you've all got to have the same registered home address and all this lot, and which like, well, presumably you can just put the office addresses at home, and I don't get it. But then Nintendo's just like, oh, we don't give a fuck. Just give out, just get someone to send you the email address for their Switch Online account, enter it in this thing. We'll send them an invite link, and that's it. They're attached to your family.
Oh. Hey, I'm down to join your family if you got an invite. I'm up for adoption. Just saying.
All right, I think I've probably got a spare one for a show member.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Charlie Hustle sent this one in. I guess I'm never buying a PS5. So he sends a link to a story of Best Buy scalping its own stock, and he wrote, yesterday, Best Buy held its latest PS5 restock, but this one came with a pretty significant catch. The console was only available to Total Tech members, which may have been permissible if the annual membership wasn't an eye-watering $200. What? So, and then he sends another link of Sony only selling to fanboys, so you could register to buy a PS5. And he said, who will be selected to receive an invitation, blah, 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 blah. So, I've bought 3 PS5s. Now, granted, I had to register. What did I do? I bought a bundle through GameStop last year, which they gave to my brother-in-law. I got one through Best Buy for myself. No. I got one through PS5 for myself because of the PlayStation Network member. I got one at launch, and then somehow I got an invite somewhere else along the way, and I got one for Scott a few months back. And and then I bought another one through Best Buy and shipped it to my buddy in Canada. So I've purchased 4 of them so far. They weren't the easiest thing to get, but I never paid more than regular price. I had no idea that they were still so hard to get, but over here we're having all kinds of massive logistics problems, like the price of gas, people not working. The shipyards are overflowing. They got 60 some cargo ships at sea. I guess it takes them 5 or 6 days to unload a cargo ship, and it's sort of unusual for there to be more than one sitting in the ocean to get to the docks in LA or Seattle. And they have a line of these things. So I'm guessing that there's shipping containers just sitting in the ocean filled with PlayStation 5s that just can't get here in time. That's my assumption at this point. I had no idea that it was so hard, but yeah, I mean, a year in, you would think that there's plenty of them out there at this point. How is it to get a PS5 over there?
So a couple of, I know one guy, I think he's bought 7 now for other people. Which has mostly just been sort of at the right place at the right time when sort of stock's gone live. But a couple of other mates, they ended up sort of ordering them through some shops, and they got theirs. And I think they had to wait a week. I think one was a week and a half, and one was 2 weeks. And it basically just I put my name in the queue and then just wait for the stock to come in, sort of thing. But they got them, and they were normal price. So I don't think it's terrible, and certainly, you just need to sort of be prepared to just put your order in somewhere and wait a bit.
I feel like I passed by a pallet of them sitting at Costco at least twice this year. It could have been.
And what's interesting though as well is there's all this kind of you can't get hold of them. And this is why people are reluctant. They're still game devs. They're still making cross-gen games. No one's really making proper games that take full use of the hardware because they don't want to put all their eggs in that basket. And yes, admittedly, the PS4, Xbox One generation, there's still a massive install base that they can still sell to. But at this point, the PS5's selling more than the PS4 did up to this point. So even though at this point in the PS4's life, you could just wander into a shop and buy one, they weren't obviously selling as desperately as they are now. So yes, they're hard to get, but it's not so much that there's actually a supply, any less supply than there was previously. It's just that people, for whatever circumstances, they've really wanting to buy this this generation. It's just.
I would say, just somebody that's had every PlayStation, I felt like the jump between 4 and 5 felt more significant, where I felt like the jump between the 3 and the 4 was just a little bit more iterative. Would you think that's a fair assessment?
It took a while, I think, for it to do much again. I mean, I think it's taken a while this time, but I think what happened with PS4 generation is they sort of stuck with the prioritizing what prettiness they could get out of it rather than performance. So the frame rate's got really bad. PS3 360 at times. So at least it got back up to sort of a more stable 30, but that was still, a drop from, this sheer amount of PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube games that ran at 60 FPS. So this generation has at least, got that back up, and, we're getting 60 and sometimes up to 120 FPS titles. So that's good, and that is a jump. I've been I upgraded my PC along the way, so I'd been in the middle of the two generations anyway, and I'm now sort of ahead of PS5 power. So I don't think it seems to me like a great leap. I know sort of like loading speed, everyone is like, blown away by it. But again, that was something that, for PCs for a long time, we'd sort of been used to. And the PS4 and 360, PS4 for Xbox One were absolutely terrible loading times in a lot of titles. So it was well overdue, and that was probably a step backwards from PS3 era. I mean, in some ways, I think the jumps probably feel about the same-ish, but there's some things that for me, sort of PS3 to PS4, the increase in image quality getting up to more closer to 1080p. PS3 ending up being about sort of 540p and then not sort of consistent 30. That jump, was quite significant. But then going again from where we finished at the end of the last generation, even with the Series X and the Series X, Xbox One X and PS4 Pro, which were kind of 4K, but not quite, but also didn't have the performance. Going up to the PS5, Xbox Series stuff, where you've now got the really high resolutions, you've got the much better frame rates, and you've got the loading on top. I think that is quite an appreciable jump. It's just I've ended up in a bit of a skewed view of it, because I'm kind of like, well, yeah, I'm still playing especially the Xbox stuff, because that's all coming out on PC as well. It's like, well, I'm still playing it, better. I have no reason. Like, my mates are trying to get me to buy an Xbox Series X, but there's just no sort of great need for me to do it. I can play pretty much everything that we want to play together anyway, and I can play it better a lot of the time.
Gareth Hamer says dig out your Commodore 128, because there is a Doom demo done by Andreas Larsson, and he's used a 3D engine that first appeared in a 2009 C64 demo called Andropolis. It's a video on YouTube. You can watch it there. It's got typical C64/128 colours, some nice pastely blues and purples and creams, but it does seem to run pretty well. I've not got to
What's
any.
the load speed?
I've not got to any enemies on screen yet, but scrolling
Yeah, it
round
looked like a
and moving round is.
confusing series of dead ends.
It,
Oh.
it did tunnels and dead ends, yeah. It does. But worth a look.
Continuing Gareth Hamer's Doom tweet Doom email month. He sent one in about Doom played by tweet. So this is like we've had sort of Twitch plays Pokemon. This is a version of Doom that takes tweets to a particular account to basically act as the inputs for playing Doom. I don't know how successful it would be. You know, eventually Twitch chat did manage to do quite well in some of the Pokemon games and things, but I would imagine Doom's quite a bit harder to play with some sort of lag from inputs coming in, and then potentially the whole sort of mediation of varied inputs as well. But an interesting thing, and it looks like it's code that you can basically get from GitHub, host yourself if you wanted to have people tweet you and see how it works.
Still runs on everything, I guess.
I guess so. One here from me, ScumVM, one of my favourite emulators, is celebrating its 20th anniversary, and they've released a new version, which is a lot more of the same, but it brings in some newer games that the versions I've got won't run. I'm just trying to scroll down to see where they were. I think it was Grim Fandango was one of them. There are various other newer Scum games as well, so might be worth you upgrading your install of that. And another one, I think from, I think from me, Stern, announced another new pinball, Jurassic Park. And I had a look at this. There's not really too many images close up on the playfield that I could see. There's a kind of an overview of it there, which I think is as good as it's going to get. It looks okay, looks interesting. I'm glad they called it Jurassic Park, not Jurassic World, because those movies are terrible. The original ones are much better. But yeah, 3 maybe. I did rewatch them all fairly recently because I did end up. I was very skeptical of World and then quite liked it. And I rewatched them and I bailed on World.
I remember 3 being a bit. World 2. I think it was 2, was just fucking so ridiculous. It went into like, I'm really enjoying this because it's just stupid. But yeah, like 3 and 2, I used to watch 2 a hell of a lot. Well, I watched 1 a lot, but as well, like 2, there's a load of continuity errors and all sorts of weird things. Some ropiness in it, but I think it was better than 3, and I think some of the worlds I would probably rather watch than 3, but anyway.
Yeah, I bailed on the first World film and haven't been back since. I'm still scared. So, Joe and Mac are back, according to David Gyrick. It's a link on Facebook. It's not going to let me see it, but I think I've said it all anyway. Joe and Mac are back.
Yeah, I was going to tie this into interesting things that are on Switch Online, SNES, because they've got all the Joe and Macs on there, which I didn't really think, maybe the first one, but not the sort of the sequel. But yeah, it's looking quite good, this, from what I've seen. It's 2D art, sort of cartoon vector artwork. Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on it. Do quite like a bit of caveman dinosaur bashing.
Is that a genre? It is now.
Yeah.
Another one from me. A Bandai Wonder Swan 101. It's an article on Racket Boy, who always do good articles. And it is pretty much all you needed to know, and a little bit more about the Bandai Wonder Swan. I had a read through that when it came in while I was having my dinner at work. It's a good article. And there's another one. I'm just going to jump down near the bottom, which is another great article sent in by, again, David Gyrick, who sent us a load this month. Thank you. And it is an article called Code is Just, and it's written by Shahid Ahmad. You probably know him from PlayStation, but he did a whole lot more before that. And it goes into a bit of his life story, a bit of how he got into programming, how he got hold of his machines, how he coded, what he did, how he cross-compiled things, and how he did a port of Jet Set Willy in just under 4 weeks. Again, I read that while I was on my dinner at work. A lengthy article, and there might be more to follow. I think there's something going on Twitter. I think if he gets enough likes, he'll do a part 2, although part 1 is split into 7 parts. It's that long, but really is a good and interesting read.
I've got one from Neil. He says, here's a cool application. It creates a CRT shader for anything on your Windows desktop. And it pretty much is that. It hooks into the RetroArch, like CRT, an image sort of effects shaders. But essentially, it looks like a window you can put over the front of any other window, and it will sort of give it, CRT look to it. So, maybe not so useful day to day, perhaps. But I think I was thinking of something like making a terminal-based game that would be like a Fallout terminal. So, you could just sort of run something like this over the top of it, have it at an expo. We obviously take our own CRTs, but one day I guess they're gonna fail on us after too many extended.
No,
Blackpool.
Don't say that.
But yeah, so. Have a little look at that. It's a little 5 megabyte download. See if you can think of some fun things to do with it.
Well, I could think of some fun things to do with some money. The Phantom system.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, the Phantom system is up for sale. This was sent in from Andrew Costin. So he links to an article, and you kind of go through there, and you link, and oh my gosh, this is up for auction actually today at Heritage Auctions. So I'm logged in because I bought plenty of stuff from Heritage over the last couple years, and I'm staring at the Phantom console, guys. This thing was from Infinium Labs, the Sarasota company. They announced it in 2003. Remember, this is sort of like the pinnacle of vaporware, right? This was going to be an all online system about a decade before the Ouya even came out, and there was all kinds of sordid history with the background of this company. And I think they did end up releasing like a keyboard or something that people said was actually quite good. But I don't, this is a prototype of the Phantom, and I'm staring at it right now. It's bidding live today. Just go ahead and take a guess of what you think this thing is at right now. It's the console, the plug for it. It's actually pretty. I mean, this is.
I'll go what I think is low, $2,000.
Okay. Random.
I was going to go 10-ish, maybe 15.
It's 3,300 right now, U.S. dollars. Next bid is at 3,400. Then you got some buyer's premium stacked on top of that, so it's right at $4,000 currently with buyer's premium. It is in a live auction right now, so this will be going up later today. So I imagine the price will skyrocket, but I think it'll be fun to kind of report back next month and let you know where it's at. But I'm watching a live auction right now, and there's a GoldenEye 007. It's a 9.4 AAA or AA sealed copy of N64 GoldenEye 007. It's currently at $24,000. I can't fucking believe it.
No.
What? The Mario in this auction sold earlier today for $426,000. That was a 9.4 AA sealed. So these things are still selling for stupid money. We got another 007 coming up, and we got an Ocarina of Time, which is a 9.2 coming up. Majora's Mask 9.8, which is currently at 11,500. So, folks, gents, collectors, if you guys got some sealed games out there, it might be the time. It really may be the time to send your shit into WATA and get some stuff up on Heritage and get some stupid fucking money for it, because man, I know some of you guys out there got some sealed games laying around, especially if they're in good condition. I would highly consider riding the lightning right now and submitting them if you haven't done it before. I have a massive comic book collection. I've been sending stuff in to get it graded. I've got some ridiculous sales. Like I had some Venom comic books that I bought in the 90s when I was in middle school and and I paid $3 for some of these Venom comic books. I read them. I put them in a bag. They sat in my mom's basement for decades. I sent some of these things in. I didn't do anything special. I didn't press them. I put them in a box. I shipped it off to CGC. They came back. They were 9.8s, and some of these things, I sold for $200 for some comic, and they were just like random issues of some Venom stuff that wasn't his first appearance. There was maybe a couple like C-level characters that may have been introduced in some of the books or something like that. I don't need them. I was happier to have the 200 some bucks that I made. And like I said, I bought them for $2-3 way back in the day, enjoyed them and sent them in, and it was easy to do. So I don't know, but if I had a stack of sealed games that I just never got around to opening, or I bought some extras, I certainly would send them in now, get them graded, and get some ridiculous money. I mean, I'm looking at like a sealed Yoshi that's gonna go for over $2,000. Like, you get any of you guys got some sealed games?
I don't think any of mine are sealed. Maybe Duke Nukem Forever. I can't remember if I opened that or not. Maybe not. But
I got that
probably it.
I got the Ninja Turtles for PlayStation 4. That was recalled. I just bought it as sort of a goof to have, and I never opened it. And I think I got a couple like PlayStation 2 games that I never opened. I don't know that those are quite as desirable, but this N64 shit is it's wacky, man.
Some PS2 stuff is like Shadow of the Colossus, I think, and stuff like that. Maybe.
This a Mario Kart 64 sealed, and it's a 9.4 A+, so not even the best one. It looks like this is gonna close. It's at 55,000 right now.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, man, you got a box of something, some old games. Okay, it closed for 55,000 with buyer's premium. That was $66,000 somebody paid for that fucking game.
Wow. So I've got one here, and we mentioned this company a while back. They were a company who were making custom plates for the PS5, and Sony threatened to sue them, said, no, you can't do that. Well, apparently the company said, nah, we're going to carry on selling them, sue us. So Sony threatened to sue them, and they withdrew them from sale. But then I read something that said they were back for sale again, so maybe you can buy them, maybe you can't. I don't know, but I suspect you can't get them for long.
Mm. Interesting. There's a bath. I'm sure there was a bunch on AliExpress.
Yeah,
That's at
they're not
some
going to
point.
sue someone like that because they probably can't
No.
find them.
So I've got another cafe update, which I'm always can't be entirely sure if these are people that are complaining or they're just trying to draw people to their cafes. But it's a roadside cafe called Big Baps, just north of Huddersfield, where they are complaining that men from Manchester are holding dogging parties in the bushes behind their cafe. Which why the people from Manchester aren't just heading up to Mike's old neck of the woods and going all that way?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
No, Big Baps,
she's saying
it's not, unless there's another one. But
no, it's not the Big Baps in near Glossop.
Oh, right, okay.
not
I
that
thought
one.
it was that one. I was going to say,
No.
I've been there. Not for dogging, but I have been there.
Yeah.
I pass it on the way to yours.
As I say, yeah, I mean, I'd be up there to Little Ben's a little bit more often. Yeah, they're saying, sometimes so many people turn up, there's no room for lorry drivers to park in the lay-by. It's probably the lorry drivers that want a dog rather than buy breakfast, perhaps. But so, this is the bit where it gets like, well, actually, is this just them trying to advertise it? Because she told Yorkshire Live, if you came and had breakfast at our cafe, you'd see 2 or 3 doggers, guaranteed. Well, I know where I'm going this weekend.
Eat your bacon sandwich and watch some dogging.
Those people that are like, I'm going to have to watch some porn to see what all this stuff is about to report on.
It's research.
Yeah. Sounds like an
I still haven't done the Chatterbait gaming research. Next month I'll get that sorted.
Yeah, do it. But something you shouldn't do is mix orange juice and your Zelda cartridge. One here from Gareth Hamer, OJ versus Copper, which is a clever headline if you think about it. This guy was trying to clean his Zelda cartridge, dunked it in orange juice, not realizing it's citric acid, and it destroyed his cartridge. Which I would expect to happen, but obviously this guy did not.
I think that would eliminate it from being a viable sale on heritage auctions.
I would think so. That's not going to go for 55 grand.
No.
So I've got more Doom news from David Gyrich, and also I think it's the same one that Gareth Hamer's sent in a couple of days later, which is a patch sort of ROM hack that's been done to the Doom 32X on the Mega Drive. I think it was on the Mega Drive version I saw. Yes, of course, 32X. It's the one for the 32X, and it adds a few things like a PS1 style title screen. Adds some missing levels that were in the Jaguar version. They put those into it. They've increased the performance of it. They've increased the input polling speed, so it plays better. The inputs feel a lot tighter. I've done some stereo sound work and all sorts. So yeah, done quite a bit of work to it. And from what I gather, it's turned it into quite a good little console version. 16-bit. Well, I suppose I say 16-bit console version of Doom. It's 2X, which is kind of 32-bit. There's some fudgery, with how it mixes graphics layers between the Mega Drive and the 32X. But yeah, it's always good to see people continuing to work on these systems and get more performance out of them.
Well, just to give everybody an update, because that I love Kickstarters. Looks like my Buccaneer skillets will be arriving in the next month. I'm excited about that. But my Polygon, my foldable measuring spoon that I backed
8 years ago.
Yeah, like 8 years ago is still like these guys are still sending out updates like, hey everybody, we're still working on QC and logistics, the pandemic and blah blah blah. And it's like it's probably worth my $16 just to read everybody bashing them. Like fuck you, just like they had, like I'm gonna hunt you down and kill you. Um, yeah, so those spoons still folding measuring spoon has not showed up, and now they're blaming it on some kind of like entry ban of the Indian nationals in China or something. Like it's so fucking ridiculous.
See, they thought they were 90% of the way there because they had molds for these spoons.
Yeah.
It was just that final 10% that seems to have tripped them up. Everyone knows the molds are the difficult part.
Job done.
God. But we did get one in from Nicola and Anthony Clawfield, and they're doing a new documentary project, The Rubber Keyed Wonder, 40 Years of the ZX Spectrum, which is on Kickstarter. They have 22 days to go. They had a goal of about, 35,000 pounds. They've made, I don't know. They have $49,000. This thing gets a little confusing to me, but they're just slightly over their goal. They have 770 backers with 22 days to go. It looks like I like the art. I think they've done a nice job here. They're the filmmakers from Bedrooms to Billions trilogy, and they've made a new documentary. So, that's out there. You'll be able to back them, and you can get a digital download. You can get a physical DVD copy of it. You can get an exclusive Oliver Frey slipcase and poster. They got a merch bundle. Some kind of watch the film with the directors type deal. You could be an associate producer. Blah 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 blah. Doesn't look like anybody's done the super big ticket things other than the associate producer, which is 1,600 pounds. They had 3 people that backed that, but they're over the hump. So looks like they will be making this documentary. You guys probably a little bit more tied to the ZX Spectrum than we are over here. So something you're looking forward to?
The Spectrum, it was kind of like, it's the Sega versus Nintendo thing over here. It's the playground fights. You're either Commodore 64 or Spectrum. I was Commodore 64, but I had loads of friends who had the Spectrum, played a lot of Spectrum games. It'll be a good documentary. That I've seen all the Bedrooms to Billions stuff, back the previous ones, and, got all the bonuses, like bits they left out because they couldn't fit it in the original films and stuff. So I've done all that. I might back this. I'm not too enamored with the Spectrum, but they do make good stuff.
Yeah, if it was on Netflix, I'd certainly watch it. Go ahead, Brandon.
I'm about the same as Mike, and let's face it, it can't be any worse than the memoirs of a Spectrum.
No.
Get an ice pack for that burn.
22 quid for a digital download's pretty steep, though.
Yeah, a little bit. Is that how much it is? I didn't think it was that much.
Yeah, 22.
Oh.
35 for physical, which is about $50 over here.
Yeah.
$31 for a digital download.
And it's a lot because they say, I've got email blasts from them because I backed the previous projects, but they've already got a lot of the footage from the previous films. So to ask that much for it is perhaps a bit of a stretch. I know it's a lot of work to make a film, don't get me wrong, but this, by their own admission, they've already got a lot of the footage from previous interviews.
You get your name in the credits at the end, so it has that like movie scroll where it's like microscopic text and it blows by real fast. Who knows? And that's worth it to you. They did say that it will be an 80-minute feature, which just barely that is the absolute minimum it qualifies to be something. So hopefully they get a little bit beyond 80. That would be my hope for it. But yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I think Bedrooms to Billions was closer to the 2-hour mark, and same with the follow-up. Speaking of Amiga, which I just was, Chris has sent one in, and it is Pi Mega, a workbench replacement for Amiga computers. And there's a YouTube video you can watch. And I did watch the YouTube video. I didn't watch every second of it. I'd click through it a little bit. But it's you can turn the Pi 4000, which was the Raspberry Pi that was the keyboard form factor and had the SD card slot in the back for your OS to go onto, and you can run Amiga Workbench on that Pi 400, which is kind of a neat idea because that's kind of how I envisage the Pi 400 being used. You know, you had an SD card that was set up as a Commodore 64 or a Spectrum or something, then you'd take that out, put another one in that's an Amiga, and you obviously already got your keyboard and you got a USB port for your mouse. So, neat system, and good to see Pi Amiga making its way to it.
Well, another one, speaking of the Amiga that we have this month from Gareth Hamer, is she's on the loose on Amiga. So, yeah, you can get you some Miss Pac-Man action with a direct arcade to Amiga conversion of Pac-Man. JOTD releases Miss Pac-Man. So I guess this is a pretty authentic, true to form version of Miss Pac-Man. Kind of talks about some of the chomping effects and everything else. So get some good straight arcade conversion of the 1982 classic. Get a download here. Has the original sound and videos, original ghost behavior, 50 frames per second, which is pretty nice. All the levels, bonuses, intermission sequences. It's a true to form. Uses a joystick or keyboard controls if you want to do that, and can run directly from shell or the WHD load if you want to do that. So cool. If you're Amiga enthusiast, get you some Miss Pac-Man.
Another one from Gareth Hamer, which is called Save the Waves. And this is a podcast. I can't see necessarily a title for it, but it's part of the Radiolab Project mixtape by the looks of things. They're going to do some episodes about the history of the tape format for the ZX Spectrum. And at some point, they're going to broadcast basically code in the podcast that you can record to tape and hopefully run on your Spectrum without getting too many loading errors if your MP3 compression destroys too much of it. I'm sure they'll have ironed out the kinks in that and tested it, hopefully.
It's an interesting one, this, because many shows ago, I'm just trying to have a quick look back, see if I can find when it was, but I put an Easter egg in one of our episodes, and it was a program for the Commodore 64 that just a simple thing I'd written. I think it was a competition, so you had to isolate that bit of the podcast, load it into your Commodore 64, and I think it gave you a message on screen, and you had to email me with that message, and you won something. I can't remember what it was. I thought I had a folder here for competitions, but I can't find it. But in WAV format, it loaded fine. It was perfect. In MP3, when I'd compressed the show, it was either horrendously loud and blew your ears out, or I think I had to take it out in the end and mute it and then put a link to it elsewhere because people were listening to the show and then they got this big screech. But they do warn you here. They'll tell you when the loader's about to come on because you'll get that great big screech through your headphones. So not sure how they're going to accomplish compression and a tape loader, but good luck with it anyway.
Just release the podcast in FLAC or something.
I thought I had a folder here for competitions. Or is it on news, actually? Oh, it's on news there. There's the folder. Easter egg.
While you're looking for that, I'll do a quick one that I sent in. Anyone who's listened to the show the last few months will know that UK Games Master TV shows coming back to our screens, and they've announced who will be the Games Master, because obviously not Patrick Stewart, fucking what's his name? It's just completely gone. The old astronomy guy who was the games master.
Oh, Patrick Moore.
Patrick Moore, that's the one. He passed away a few years ago, and they've picked Sir Trevor McDonald, who I think will be an absolutely fantastic pick for it. I can see him being quite a hoot. I have sort of bumped into him here and there away from a sort of a work environment, and he seems to be a pretty nice, fun chap. So hopefully, that'll be pretty cool. And good they're sticking with the old dude theme as well.
Yeah. Well, some great news here from Euro Millions. We are pleased to announce the launch of the Euro Millions lottery. We won. Our ticket won. I don't recall buying it, but we won with our numbers. And the amount we won was €1,033,822 and a bit of change. So well done, guys! Congratulations, we've won the Euro Millions. Oh.
Excellent. So this is the last show we're doing. Sorry, everyone. We'll maybe bump into you in the Bahamas or something.
I did reply to that from a fake account, but I've not been in and checked it. One here from David Gyrick again. Epic Games Tim Sweeney says Democrats' unrealised capital gains tax on billionaires would crush entrepreneurs. And he says it's interesting to see how it could affect the games industry, especially the ones which aren't publicly traded. Well, I'm afraid we'll just have to wait and see, because we don't know. I'm sure it will. If it happens, maybe it will, maybe it won't. So I've got some here. I can't see in the inbox, but I thought I'd sent them. Maybe I didn't. FIFA and EA have split. I'm not sure it will mean an end to countless FIFA titles, etc. Maybe they'll be called something different. Will it mean more? If EA are doing the games...
I think they're not happy with EA being the sole...
Oh, they're moving it somewhere else. Is that what they're saying?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of talk over whether it's just that FIFA Ultimate Team is making a fuck ton of money and FIFA actually don't see any of that. They just see the royalties from the initial game purchase.
Right.
So whether EA they're maybe sort of saying we're not going to give you the exclusive license because they're trying to sort of strong arm their way around a better deal, or they're going to actually open it up so that you have like when you had NFL, you had Madden and you had NFL 2K, and you had these sort of competing series. Whether they're going to maybe try and do that and sort of give a bit more innovation and stuff in the soccer market. But I mean, Pro Evo's done fairly well off its own, without the FIFA license, and still been a competitor. But neither of them, still hasn't really. Neither of them have driven each other forward to the point where Pro Evo's now turned into the free-to-play eFootball, which is something that Konami has done recently, which is an absolute shit show. So that's gone very poorly. So yeah, I don't know whether it'll make a difference or not. We'll have to wait and see. I think it's a business type thing at the moment.
Right. I don't buy any FIFA games, so not really too concerned.
Football game for a long time, really.
So I had a couple more, and again, I haven't actually sent them. I thought I had, but haven't. Pengo is coming to the Atari 7800. It's a news article on Indie Retro News. And Oculus plan to remove the requirement for a Facebook account, something they added, was it last year or the year before, and they said you've got like 18 months, and then if you don't log in through Facebook, you won't be able to use your Oculus. Well, now they are removing that requirement. Maybe it didn't go too well for them. I can't say I'm disappointed.
A lot of things aren't going too well for them.
Yeah, they're changing their name to Metaverse.
Yeah. which means dead in Hebrew or something stupid like that.
So I just watched a Super Mario Sunshine WATA 9.6 A plus sealed in a box, which, GameCube game, like, you gotta imagine the condition's pretty good, right? Like,
You would think.
Unless people played the game and then decided it was only worth using as toilet paper.
yeah,
But then
I
it
mean,
would seem at that point.
not a great game. Well, at least, I didn't care for it as much as some of the other ones, but man, it still sold for $2,000. Like, yeah.
I think. Well, it would carry a premium because it's Mario. I personally didn't like the game. It's one of Scott's favourites. I think he loves it, but I didn't care for it myself. But it's Mario.
Okay, so like Super Smash Melee, which they printed epic fucking truckloads of this game. Like, it was like, it seems like, I don't know, not too long ago you could have found these things like still laying around in stores. That thing just sold for $3,200 graded.
Wow, the shenanigans afoot over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I've
got
just
some.
found this. So I've just found this sealed copy of Stormrise on the Xbox 360. If anyone wants it, it's probably worth about 50p.
Yeah.
I'll take 50 quid.
I mean, honestly, if you got some sealed games, like there's a Michael Jackson Moonwalker coming up that's already at $3,600. I'm gonna dig around and try to find some sealed games, man, because this is just like stupid money over here.
Yeah.
Heritage auctions, yeah.
Yeah. So you got a Halloween one to finish us off, then, I think, Sparkle.
Yeah. So Shannon DeWitt, the dude that runs Southern Fried Gaming Expo out of Atlanta, good dude, got a good crew over there. They're rolling out Retrofied. Issue 4 is going to be available. They're featuring a lot of Transformers, some Goosebumps art. They're doing some stuff with Universal Monsters, some toy lines. They usually touch on some games and stuff like that. But digital downloads, $6. It's very well designed. There's a free download of a free 10-page preview. You can get in on a physical copy as well, but I think that there's a lot of our members of our audience that would enjoy this publication. It's well done. It's worth taking a look. So there'll be a link in the show notes to where you can check out Retrofied magazine.
That's awesome. All right. We are out of news for the Halloween month of October. So, enjoy your Halloween, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful time. And thank you for joining us. And thank you for listening. And hopefully all 4 of us will be here for news next month. But you've got all 4 of us in the top 10, so it's not too bad. And thank you for listening, and we'll speak to you again next month. Bye-bye, everybody.